Here is your staff update for the week of February 2nd. Exciting news, as you saw from the email, we received our 6-year accreditation for Minarets High School and Minarets Charter High School. In the email, I went over all the benefits of that. Feel very proud and happy about this, and I can't thank you guys enough for all the work that you put in, not just this year, but over the years and dealing with the COVID interruption with that. It speaks a lot to us as a staff, how much we've developed, and us just being really fixed and clear on our goals, and just having all the data and the plans to back that up. So kudos to you guys. I hope you're proud to be part of such a well put together school. Wanted to go over the pod procedures. So if you have a pod on campus or at any time you might be looking at adding a pod, here are the rules. So all pod rosters must be approved through the administrative team and placed on the master spreadsheet. Students who are on campus for intervention pod may work individually in the teacher's classroom with the permission of the teacher, but that student must be by themselves or with students within their pod. Teachers can move from one pod to another. All students must do a self-check through Parent Square before arriving on campus. They must bring a green slip confirming that they've done so. And green slips are then turned into the office. Packets of green slips have been sent home. We can give you some as well. If students want to come on campus to work individually with you, then that has to be approved through us with the same conditions as a pod. But remember, pods are reserved for intervention, SPED, and CTE, with the exception of some extracurricular programs. Bottom line, when it comes to pods, communicate. We'll figure it out together. Here's a look at the bus schedule. We're very limited at this time just because of all the COVID protocols for elementary schools. We only get one bus a day, so we're doing it by location. Mondays are Norfolk, Tuesdays are Fresno Madera, Wednesdays are Wild Peak Core School, Thursday Norfolk, Friday Norfolk. Make sure you communicate with us if your students need transportation because seats are limited and we need to know who's getting picked up. To go over the COVID exposure or positive tests, the protocol, just so you guys know, if you were in direct exposure of someone who tests positive, then you'll have to follow the quarantine procedure. That is, if you were in the same room with the person who tested positive. In that case, you have two options. Number one, after 5 days from the exposure, you can take a PCH, not a rapid, but a PCH test. And if you test negative, you may return after 7 days have passed as long as you don't have any symptoms. Or, number two, you wait 10 days from the exposure date and you return on the 11th day. If you test positive, contact me immediately, then I'll direct you to HR, but I'll walk you through the steps. Email myself and HR when you started experiencing symptoms and when you tested positive. So we'll need a thorough recount of how that went down. Then identify everyone on staff or students that you exposed during that time. At that point, I'll have to contact them. This will all be done confidentially. But I will inform them if they were exposed and tell them about their protocol. If you test positive, you have to quarantine for 14 days from the test date, and you can return on the 15th day if you're symptom-free. Wanted to recall the teacher roundtable. I know I'm a little bit behind the curve here. This was a few weeks ago, but wanted to give you some feedback from those sessions. And I really just picked the most reoccurring themes and codes that I came up with each group. Question one, what are two specific things we as a staff should focus on mastering this semester to make us great? Make school important. We are on. Take this seriously. That came up a lot. Finish assignments together in class. Don't just have them do that autonomously because the return is low. Collaboration and sharing tips on Mondays between teachers. And communicate in a structured format. We already started the collaboration and teacher tips on Monday. We're going to work on the communication. I have an idea that I've got from the advisory group. I think it's going to be effective. Looking at the Monday schedule and considering that we have just 25 minutes with our students in odd or even classes, what are some valuable things we can do in that time? Preview and review, check in, wellness check, doing something fun to lift spirits. Project/assignment checkpoints, so doing the checkpoints, checks for understanding, kind of reiterating, um, giving some examples, providing those checkpoints, and then giving feedback and walking them through assignments that have been turned in, kind of what's working, what's not, common trends that you see, using that time for those things. What was one thing you tried in the first semester that you thought would work but failed? Breakout rooms. Went too fast, did too much. Didn't have realistic expectations for work and learning. Enable versus empower versus accountability. What was, actually going back to that, so a lot of people said, okay, there's this balance between just giving kids all the points just so they pass versus being there for them and not leaving them out to dry. So a lot of people found that pro points, doing things together in class, garnering some support that way so kids don't have get in a hole, that led to a good balance between that. What was one thing that was very successful in the first semester that you'd like to keep doing and share with your colleagues? Providing supplemental videos for assignments and instruction. Making it through and still being positive, just the brass tacks of making it through was good. Individual discussions with kids. Allowing kids to go back and redo work with feedback. Over communicating, finishing tasks in class, doing this together, making sure we're all on the same page. Wanted to go over the policy survey that was sent out. There was only 15 responses, so we got about half the staff. So we're looking for more, but here's some preliminary results. You could see your policy on missing work. There's some variance there. We're going to share the results with you, especially with these fill in the blank answers. But looking at some of the percentage ones, how frequently are you updating grades? So the top two most common were every day or once a week, which is really good. If we're doing in-class grades, I think that behooves everybody. But if you're doing it once a week and you carve out that time, maybe those Mondays, maybe doing your prep when you catch your prep, those are good strategies. On average, how long are your WebEx classes? The two most common are between 20 and 40 minutes and 40 minutes plus. Okay, so that's right about where we want to be. Obviously, if you go over 40 minutes, you're infringing upon the next class. You got to be careful with that. Remember, there are other classes. But I get it. Sometimes we need that. For WebEx, are you still using your personal room or scheduled events? The majority of the staff are doing scheduled events. Some are doing personal rooms. I think at this point, a little bit late in the game to change that up, but it's good to see that there's some pretty good consistency there. What percentage of your students in your classes have their camera on? Overwhelmingly less than half. I think this is something that we got to bring up in our small group sessions to just kind of talk about. Where are we at on this? And then the other percentage was none. So interesting. Are you offering pro points? Overwhelmingly, the answer was yes. I think that's a good idea. Whatever we can do to raise engagement and get kids plugged in. So if yes, what kind of opportunities are you doing? Work early, expanding the project, uploading notes from the class, extra assignments, early to class. Those are all really good things. Hey, that's low-hanging fruit. I think it's wise to incorporate that. When do you take attendance? After class, during class, at the end of the day. The big thing on this, folks, is making sure that you do it because Kristen is really swamped, really tough with this. So I would recommend that you do this immediately after class. If you can do that after class, don't wait till the end of the day for those that put that. What is your approach when a student has an F? Contact them and their parents. Excuse a few assignments so they can see their grade go up and give them some hope. Email home, email the student, provide opportunities. Talk with student, email parent, re-engage, follow up, call parent. I think the common theme here is over communicating and really trying to get that kid to the finish line. And I do appreciate that with all of you. How would you rate your expertise on Canvas? This one out of the tech tools is probably the most proficiency based on your own interpretation. Nevertheless, I think that is in the eye of the beholder. There are some tools that we're not necessarily using. I think with these sessions that we're doing, that could help. What's your level of expertise on WebEx? So, generally speaking, a lot of people, that doesn't mean you're happy with it per se, but most people feel pretty comfortable, but not all. How would you rate your level of experience with Pear Deck? Obviously, we need to do some professional development with Pear Deck. We are invested in that. We think it's a good tool. Newsela, even more so. This is a really good tool for you core teachers. It's aligned with state standards, and there's some really good critical thinking exercises and content for kids to look up resources. How would you rate your level of expertise of Turnitin.com? And so, high rate of feeling not very secure. Those are our main technological tools that we've purchased that we're invested in. Our idea is kind of select a core amount and be really good at that. So we're going to dedicate some time on Mondays to do that. That is your staff update for the week. We'll catch you guys next week. We'll be meeting. We're going to do a small tech training, and then we're going to do department teams. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Please verify that you watched the video. Take care.